Back to the Springs Radio Real Estate Show. I'm Cheryl Garlock with Colorado Front Range Properties. I am so glad you guys could tune in to us here today. My very special guest is Andy Shin with AY Realty. Thank you for joining.
Good to be here.
I've got to tell everyone, first of all, I want to remind everyone what this show is all about, Andy. It's all about residential real estate. So if you're thinking about buying a home or selling a home or investing in property, this is the place I certainly hope you want to tune into and certainly give us a call. We want to answer your questions, but you know what? Andy's a property manager and I'm a real estate broker. I do sales, he does property management. We want to help you with your particular needs. So we're not just radio celebrities, although some people think we are.
I know, huh?
No, but we do actually know a little bit about what we're talking about because we've been in this business for a very long time, and we're still not using walkers, Andy.
Not yet.
Not yet. That's pretty good. So listen, you guys, if you want some information, you want some help with some properties there, got questions, whatever it is, give us a call. 719-321-7600. Visit us at coloradospringsbesthomes.com. You can just click on the extras tab to find a replay of today's show, and you can also go ahead and find our guest lineup there and get Andy's contact information directly there as well. And you know what else they can do with that website there, Andy?
What's that?
They can actually search for homes online. They can use their mouse to find a house.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, and you get to tap into the Realtors MLS directly. So it's a real personal deal that you get to. You can save your searches, create your own searches there, track price movements, all sorts of good things. And it's most importantly, it's real time. It's a lot better than using Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com because you're tapping into the Realtors coveted MLS directly in real time. So you'll get a lot of information there. Now, Andy, I want to talk to everyone a little bit about property management here. And, people, at least nowadays, sometimes like to keep their home that they, especially in Colorado Springs, we got a lot of military.
Sure.
So we got a lot of people that have their home, own their home, and then they get transitioned someplace else there instead of selling it. They might want to come back or for whatever reason keep it. And so they might be wanting to rent their home out. And my question is I don't think people know about some of the legal ramifications with renting and managing that property themselves.
Yeah, they don't, Cheryl. And, you think about, well, I'll manage myself. And especially, maybe somebody's local. Maybe they're still in town. And they go, well, why would I need help with that? I'm here in town.
Yeah.
Or maybe they rent to a good renter and they think, well, everything's going to be fine. I'll go out of state or wherever I need to go. But people don't realize this is a complicated business transaction.
It's very complicated.
And you shouldn't enter a transaction like that without some help. So you talked about, what are some of the legal ramifications? There's several. For anybody listening, do you know what warrant of habitability is all about in Colorado? And maybe you've heard the term. Do you know all the details about it? Do you know how easy it is, Cheryl, for a renter to send you a letter with some very subtle language that could get you as a landlord in trouble if you don't respond within certain timelines, and you don't even realize what that letter is when you receive it because you're not in the business.
No, but I will address the warrant of habitability there.
Yeah.
That your timeline, folks, just in case you're wondering, is a whopping big 5 days.
That's right.
It's very fast.
And can you imagine? By the way, the letter doesn't have to say 5 days. So can you imagine?
It's a
receive
statute.
This? That's right. You receive this letter about a repair, for example. I won't go into too much detail, but it's a very sort of subtle letter. Nothing big deal. Looks harmless. Well, guess what? Your renter has potentially just set you up to be able to exit their lease early without penalty, to get their security deposit back, and in an extreme case, even get damages from you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, speaking of those security deposits, especially you're renting, managing your property yourself there, a lot of people don't know the terms and conditions under which they need to go ahead and return those security deposits.
That's another big one. Colorado, like most states, awards penalties to renters for security deposits that are unlawfully withheld. So let's say that you're a landlord and in good faith you're simply holding a $1,000 security deposit and you're going to retain it because you think you have rights to. Well, if you're wrong about that, guess what? You're not paying the renter $1,000 back, you're paying them $3,000 back, triple damages in Colorado.
Absolutely there. Wow. And people have to be really, really cognizant of the amount of time that they have to actually return those. And it's not usually 30 days when when the lease ends. It's 30 days when the property is vacated unless it's stipulated otherwise.
If they take off early, you need to be aware of that. Cheryl, even if you evict somebody, guess what? If you don't send that letter, guess what you have to do?
Send a triple check.
You have to send them that deposit back, and if you don't, and if they take it to court, they're going to get triple the deposit back. Somebody you evicted.
Yeah.
So And that's just one aspect, but there's 50 things just like that, that as a private landlord, you just couldn't possibly know all that.
No, and you have to have a pretty good security deposit letter format, as far as itemizations are concerned.
It has to be, you have to cover the things you have to cover or it doesn't count. And that's right. And if you miss it in 30 days, it doesn't matter what happened. If you don't send that letter in a month, you have to return the deposit no matter what.
Oh boy, oh boy. So let's talk about wear and tear. Can they deduct wear and tear from the security deposit?
Well, and that's a big one because for a lot of people it's a gray area. In Colorado, you can't deduct for normal wear and tear. However, it's not really a gray area. If you know somebody who's a professional in the field, it's going to be very easy to identify this is normal wear and tear, this is not normal wear and tear. The other thing too is depreciating items that people miss, and then they end up getting those triple damages in court. Let's say that a renter damages the carpet, and you say, well, of course they have to pay for the living room carpet because the living room carpet was damaged. Well, guess what? That carpet's 5 years old. What do you think you have to do?
Depreciate it.
You got to depreciate that, and in most courts, they're only going to give you 5 to 10 years, depending on the quality of carpet you had in there in the first place. So you might have to depreciate most of that deduction.
Wow.
Those are things you need to know, or you get in a lot of trouble.
Well, speaking of repairs, we don't have a whole lot of time left here, but who are the repairs responsibility of the landlord or the tenant?
Yeah, if it's caused by the tenant, then it's the tenant's responsibility. But the landlord needs to be aware of what they're responsible for. And I've seen people write things into leases that aren't really enforceable as far as what they're going to hold the tenant accountable for. That's why you need to be working with somebody who knows the law and knows what you can hold the tenant accountable for and what you're just going to have to fix. Because if the furnace goes out, I don't care what your lease says. If you're the landlord, you're going to have to get the heat back on.
Yeah, you definitely. That's kind of part of that warrant of habitability.
That's right. That's exactly right.
As I recall there. What about fees for property management services? People ask me all the time, well, isn't the standard real estate commission fee X number of percent or whatever? What about in property management? How does that work?
Yeah, same as on the sales side. It can vary depending who you're working with. But even on the property management side, it varies more widely than it probably does on the sales side. So be careful when you're looking at property managers. You're going to find some that are pretty low price. Make sure you understand what's included. What are they going to do for that price? And then you're going to find others that are charging almost a menu item of fees. And you've got to be careful of that because I've seen folks get really surprised when they get that first statement and go, what are all these charges? I thought I was paying 10% or whatever the percentage they were quoted. You've got to be careful. Are there extra things built into that? So do some shopping.
Wow. Gosh, Andy, we got a whole lot more to share with you guys on the Springs Radio Real Estate Show here. Gosh, I could be talking about rental scams, and we might have to address that really quickly here. But so you guys want to stay tuned for more from the Springs Radio Real Estate Show because Andy and I want to go ahead and fill your ears with all sorts of good information. We'll be right back. Okay, so you know what I think I'll do is I'll lead into very quickly the rental scam thing.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a good thing because that's such a hot deal.
And I can spend a couple minutes on that if we have the time. So
yeah.
Do we want to turn?
Well, we don't have that much time because I got 4 properties I got to crank out.
Okay.
But, we might do that though. Rental scams, contracts.
Yeah.
I might tie that in with the contracts at the end.
Sounds good.
I think that's good. Would you remind me, please?
Yeah.
Okay, that would be most helpful because I got 4 properties I had to crank out here.
Perfect. Are we doing the tape?
Oh, thank you. No, I'm done with that.